welcome back to Grim Advice with Gretta Myers. You've entered the grimoire with 2 M's. We won't be turning any pages today because I have swapped today's and Friday's story just for it was easier that way because today's is short and I didn't have enough space on my camera for it the other one at the moment. So we will end the week with Hans the Hedgehog, and today, without further ado, we have the Shroud. If I can get to it with my butterfingers. Okay. There was once a mother who had a little boy of 7 years old, who was so handsome and lovable that no one could look at him without liking him, and she herself worshipped him above everything in the world. Now it so happened that he suddenly became ill, and God took him to himself, and for this the mother could not be comforted, and wept both day and night. But soon afterwards, when the child had been buried, it appeared by night in the places where it had sat and played during its life, and if the mother wept, it wept also, and when morning came, it disappeared. As, however, the mother would not stop crying, it came one night in the little white shroud in which it had been laid in its coffin, and with its wreath of flowers around its head, and stood on the bed at her feet, and said, "O mother, do stop crying, or I shall never fall asleep in my coffin, for my shroud will not dry because of all your tears which fall upon it." The mother was afraid when she heard that, and wept no more. The next night the child came again, and held a little light in its hand, and said, "Look, mother, my shroud is nearly dry, and I can rest in my grave." Then the mother gave her sorrow into God's keeping, and bore it quietly and patiently, and the child came no more, but slept in its little bed beneath the earth. Wow, that was sad! That was really sad. Okay, couple things. This is a hard one. This is a hard concept for people to understand. Because on the one hand, should you bottle up your emotions and not feel it? No! No! Emotions are there for a reason. You need to feel it. However, should you hang on to the emotion and make it a bigger deal than it is? No. There's a middle path right here in the middle that says emotions are like waves, or like the weather. You really can't control them. So it's like ignoring the ocean or the sky. You can't do that. But at the same time, you don't want to go chasing the rain clouds. You don't want to dive deeper into the ocean looking for the next wave. You gotta let them come and go. Come and go. And that's hard. It's a really hard thing to learn. And most people spend decades trying to master this, this emotions thing. So on the one hand, there's that. Trying to find this middle path, because absolutely losing someone you love is really hard, whether it be a best friend moving or loss of a grandparent or a child. I can't even imagine that, how painful that would be. And yet there's a point where it's like, okay, it still hurts and I need to let the next thing come. Like, if you're standing in the ocean, your socks are going to be wet for a good long time afterwards, but you gotta let the next wave come too. There's also a really hard thing about this story is the idea that the child comes and is like, "Mom, I need you to be okay. Because I want to be okay. And if you keep crying, I don't know how I'm ever going to stop crying." And that's really hard. That's a really hard thing, because on the one hand, yeah, you want your child to feel as good as possible. You don't want them to have to see you suffer or see anyone suffer or suffer at all. You want your child to be happy and feel good. On the other hand, you want to protect them. On the other hand, you're human. You have emotions. You have human emotions because you're human. And you need to feel those emotions. So how do you do that? How do you find a balance? I'm not sure I can tell you. I really cannot tell you. But you do need to find that balance. It's important. Even if it is very hard. Alright, my gremlins. Thank you for joining us for another Happily Ever After, or not so Happily Ever After. And that's up for you to decide. And what you decide is valid. Because you're valid. You are. Either way, this is the end for this episode, so tune in later and we can learn more and turn new pages and read Hans the Hedgehog tomorrow.